afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for our webinar presenting the first look at our 2022 Precision Farming Dealer Benchmark Study results. I'm Michaela Paukner, and I'm the Technology Editor at Precision Farming Dealer. And you'll meet my dealer panelist in just a moment. First, thank you to LaForge for sponsoring today's webinar. Be sure to stick around until the end of the webinar to receive a special registration discount courtesy of LaForge for the Precision Farming Dealer Summit coming up in January in St. Louis, Missouri. So we have a lot of data to get through today, and I want to make sure we're spending the most time on what's important to those of you who are joining us live. So what I'm going to do here is launch a poll that will ask you to choose from a list of topics, which one is most important to you, or which one you want to hear most about. So I'll see which one ranks the highest, and that's where we'll spend the most of our time, and that'll help us get through some of the data quicker and address the things that you really care about. So while you're answering that, I just wanted to mention that this webinar is being recorded, and you'll be emailed a link to watch the recording after we finish the presentation, in case you want to go back and revisit some of the data or share it with your team. You'll also see a panel at the bottom of your screen with a Q&A option. You can submit questions at any time during the presentation, and then the data is broken up into different categories, and I'll take related questions at the end of each section. So you can submit questions at any time, and I will take those as we finish each section. And with that, I would like to introduce our panelists for today. Kyle Fischer, a Precision Ag Advisor at HTS Ag based in Harlan, Iowa. Kyle, before we get started, could you share a little bit about HTS Ag and what you do there?
Yeah, so like you said, my name's Kyle Fischer. I'm a Precision Ag Advisor for HTS Ag, and to simplify that, I am in sales as my primary role. We are a ag leader dealer. We have their blue Delta accreditation, which means we've been through all the training. We sell enough product to justify it. And then we are also an OPI grain management dealer. That's a big piece of our business. And if you guys don't know what that is, it is the temperature and moisture cables that we hang in farmer bins and commercial grain storage. And then we can automate fan control on that. We have also entered the drone world in a big way. We can get spray drones. We partnered with Helio. They are based out of Texas, and that's primarily why we did it. We also have started working with law enforcement quite a bit with drones. If you guys aren't familiar with where Harlan is, the office is about an hour east of Omaha, right off I-80. But the big thing is we've helped stand up Omaha Police Department's drone program, Nebraska State Patrol, and a couple of their western cities as well. So if it's high tech, we probably dabble in it in some sort.
Awesome. That's really interesting with the police departments and law enforcement. All right. So I'm going to end our poll here. And it looks like we had the most interest in billing for precision service and support, followed by precision sales. So Kyle, I'm glad you're here. We'll spend a little bit more time on those two as compared to the others, so we can dive into that data. So to get us started, I wanted to share a little bit about the demographics of the respondents to this year's survey. That'll help you put the results into perspective and then help you compare your own dealership to this specific data set. So we start by asking dealers what best describes their business structure, and you can see that 82% of the people who responded carry a major line brand, which we define as the brands you see to the right. And of that 82% who carry a major line, we have 36% Case IH, 32% John Deere, 16% New Holland, 13% AGCO, and 3% Kubota. And then outside of that 82%, we had 18% short line or independent dealers who took our survey this year. And we combine those two categories together this year. This is a little different from years past, but reflects a similar type of dealer. So then the dealership size was pretty evenly split this year. You can see that most respondents operate 25 or fewer ag locations, and they're pretty evenly distributed in our location size categories. The Corn Belt was the most popular geography. That's the states that you see highlighted here. And then the Lake and Plains states surrounding the Corn Belt equaled about 16% of survey respondents, followed by 12% in the East and South and 10% in the West. So when you're seeing this data, it's the Corn Belt and the surrounding states primarily, and then kind of tapers off as you go farther out from the Corn Belt. So we asked about business structure. We asked, what is the primary objective of your dealership's precision farming business? And half of respondents said it's to supplement whole goods sales and service. The next most popular answer was independent precision service and support revenue at about a little over, well, a little under 17%, followed by independent hardware and product sales revenue at about 14%. That tied with customer support also at about 14%. And then dedicated precision staff size, when we asked dealers how their staff was split up, the staffing size ranged from no dedicated precision employees to as many as 50 employees. So we have a pretty wide range of who's dedicated to precision at these particular dealerships that we surveyed. So in terms of decision-making, make sure you can see that here. We asked who is the most influential at the dealership in making decisions about the following: adding a new precision product or platform, adding a new precision service, hiring additional precision staff, making precision product recommendations to farm customers, and structuring packages and pricing. You can see how the respondents answered here. So for adding a new product, typically that among our survey dealers, that's falling to the precision farming manager. The precision farming manager is also making those decisions about adding a new precision service. The hiring most commonly goes to the general manager at the dealership. And then the precision specialists, they're really responsible for making those product recommendations to farm customers. And then for structuring packages and pricing, precision farming manager is most commonly doing that, followed by the precision farming specialist. So Kyle, I want to ask you here, what does the decision-making tree look like at HTS Ag?
So our general manager is kind of both. I would, to compare to the graph, he is both the general manager, the precision farming manager, and then I have you covered with and then my role would be the specialist. So he's in charge of making sure we're selling the right products, that they're like those products, meeting with those company CEOs and people, our area reps and things like that to make sure we still have the horse hooked to the right cart. But as of right now, that would be our general manager. We just hired a sales manager, so that could change a little bit. We're going through a little bit of a growth stage right now. We're shaking stuff up in the office a little bit, but yeah, to sum it up right now, that would all that would fall under our general manager.
Okay. And we'll probably come back to this later in the presentation, but in terms of the sales manager hiring, what was the purpose of hiring for that role specifically, and what gap does it fill for you guys? So
kind of to put into perspective, compared 21 to 22, I have doubled my sales. And part of that is commodity prices. Part of that is just kind of settling in and actually kind of getting good at my job. But so what our deal with that is somebody to help us build relationships, Somebody that is a point of contact that's not trying to sell them something all the time. And just somebody with more experience than what I have in the ag world that can, maybe point some insights of this is, maybe this is the direction we're heading. And as we make, we cover Iowa and beyond, so that we have 3 of us in my role. And if we add more, it just takes somebody dedicated to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row.
Sure, that makes sense. All right, so with that, we'll move on to our next category, which is precision products. So dealers this year told us what precision product lines they carried. They could choose all applicable product lines. So the percentages did total more than 100%. I don't have it split out this way, but when you see the full results later in articles coming up for precision farming dealer, that's why those will total more than 100%. So here are the top 10, or actually 11, because we had a couple of ties. About 64% of the dealers who took our survey this year carry Ag Express electronics products, followed by Trimble and Raven at about 55%. Almost half of respondents carry Ag Leader or precision planting products. And this data came from a really long list of options, and we'll have an extended look at those in those articles that I mentioned. So these aren't the only products, obviously, that dealers are carrying, but they did round out our top 10. So then we asked, how are you learning about these new precision technology products, platforms, or systems? And as you can see, the manufacturer training and meetings are the most common way that dealers who we surveyed are learning about them. About 88% said that's where they're learning about new products. Independent research and customer conversations also rank high, as well as trade shows and industry events. All right. We'll get to revenue, which we know is a popular one. So we asked dealers, what is your best estimate of total precision farming revenue for 2022 at your dealership? That includes precision hardware, software, and services. So about 62% of dealers estimate their precision revenue for 2022 to be $1 million or less. About 38% of dealers are expecting $500,000 or less in dedicated precision revenue. This is actually an increase in the percentage of dealers that chose this lowest tier option compared to last year. Last year, 26.2% of dealers predicted total revenue at $500,000 or less. But in both years, this did make up the largest percentage of dealers among all of the categories. So while it's a little higher this year, it's still on trend that this is the most common revenue category for the dealers that we're surveying in terms of dedicated precision revenue. So then we asked dealers, what change in revenue does that represent in 2022 compared to 2021? So 39% said that's an increase of 2 to 7%. 26% said it's little or no change. 23% said it's up 8% or more. And then we had a smaller minority here, a total of about 11% here, saying 13%, saying that they would be down this year compared to 2021. So then, since sales obviously play a factor in revenue, we asked dealers to compare sales in 2022 to last year. 39% are anticipating a 2 to 7% increase, followed by 26% who are expecting little or no change. 23% of dealers are expecting an 8% or more jump in sales compared to last year. And then looking ahead, we asked, what do you think? How do you think 2022 is going to compare the year you're going to have in 2023? Dealers are positive. We had 2 to 7%, 47% believe their revenue is going to be up 2 to 7% next year. 30% think little or no change, 13% up 8% or more. And then we had the total of 10% here who think it will be down. I know we'll talk about this a little bit later coming up, but some of this, people are concerned about product availability. That was something that dealers told us that was on their mind as a challenge coming up, and that could potentially affect how they're forecasting here. So Kyle, I'm looking for your input here about how product availability specifically is looking for you guys, and then in general, what the sales landscape looks like for 2023.
Yep. So we're currently I'll start at 2023. We're currently trying to guess that one. I literally just did my sales forecasting this morning, and if things follow the course they have over the last 15, 16 months, I would say we'll have another strong sales year. 2022 has been good. We came into 2022 with, I think, somewhere, I forget what the number exactly was, but it was in the we were in the 7-figure numbers of stuff that we had ordered but wasn't on the shelf. So kind of to make a comparison with that, normally, in a typical year before COVID messed everything up, we would only keep $60,000 to $70,000 worth of equipment on the shelf. I think we have somewhere up around the $500,000 worth of planter systems sitting on pallets in our sheds right now. Just that way, when guys are ready to pull the trigger on it, we're out prospecting, trying to get that done. We can just be, hey, we have it. We have to order some vehicle specific or planter specific or tool specific pieces, but we have the stuff that's hard to get sitting on pallets, hopefully. So that's how we've been handling it, is kind of take a shot in the dark and order some stuff and see what you can't get sold.
Sure. And then how does that affect you from the sales perspective? How are you choosing what you're ordering, and then how are you going about trying to sell that huge amount of inventory you have on the shelf in terms of
when we were the three of us that are in my role, we all kind of got together and we went through our CRM, and then we looked at our close rates for our total number of sales percentage wise, and that's honestly kind of how we based it. Is we honestly just looked at the data and maybe added a couple systems, because it does happen. People call in and be like, hey, can you get this? This is what I want. How long does it take to get? And there's really not much effort on our end to do it. So we tried to account for that a little bit as well. But we just went through our system and looked at the data.
Okay, makes sense. So talking more about precision sales in particular, we asked our surveyed dealers what % of your total precision revenue comes from the following areas. And I'll just scroll down here so you can see all of them. These are the categories we asked about. More than half on average of a dealer's total precision revenue is coming from hardware sales, with an average of about 57% of a dealer's precision revenue coming from hardware sales. The next largest revenue category is service and support, followed by signal subscriptions, software sales, other farm data management services, and agronomic services are providing a pretty small percentage. And that's because, as you'll see coming up, that not every dealership is offering agronomic services. So those that are outweighed by the majority that aren't. And then we'll look here at what % of your precision farming products are being sold through the following methods. We had 52%, it's coming factory installed, about 40% is aftermarket, and then about 13% is used precision equipment. And this represents an increase in terms of the factory installed. This is a higher number over the last 5 years. Aftermarket and factory installed were both in the 40th percentile last year and in 2020. And then we're looking at who is selling those precision products. More than half are precision specialists selling the precision products, followed by a farm equipment salesperson, dedicated precision salesperson, and then the service department selling a very small number. As you can see, among our surveyed dealers, they don't have any staff agronomists, seed or fertilizer salespeople, or parts department contributions to selling precision farming products. So I know, Kyle, you talked about this a little bit before, but how you have the role of sales and precision specialist at HTS Ag. So how does that, what does your workflow look like in terms of time spent selling versus time spent supporting the things that you are selling?
I would say 75 to 90% of my day is trying to sell stuff and do that. You know, obviously that might change a little bit in the spring and the fall. But we have a dedicated support hotline that we sell service plans to. And we just kind of, as that phone starts ringing, one of the 12 of us on the team takes care of that. That's what the workflow guys right now. We're kind of in between products. If any of you guys are working for deer, and if it's still called AgriSync, you guys have one heck of a tool that can do that. We're trying to find a replacement for that currently. Yeah, that right now it's just kind of, they call in a hotline, it rings everybody's cell phone, and we just take care of it as they call in.
Okay. I was going to ask you that about AgriSync and what tool you're using to manage that phone tree to ring everybody.
Yep. So up until June, we were using AgriSync, and it was great. It would, as soon as one of us answered the phone call, it would make a ticket, tell it who was with, how long it took us to ring, how long it took us to answer it, and then it also logs how long we were on that phone call for. Then it gives you a place at the end to rate how that call went, and then we can get on our computers afterwards and make notes. That way, if they call back in, somebody can pull up their tickets and go back through it. That way, you're not totally diagnosing something by taking a shot in the dark.
So what have you been using since June to do that?
Right now, nothing. We've just been email. If it's a real serious matter, we send an email out to everybody. We thought we had a solution figured out, but we came up a little shorthanded on that. So right now, it's just, we're not doing it on pen and paper, but it's close.
Sure. All right, so we'll move on here to our customer behaviors. We have two questions about customer behaviors. This is new this year. Just for some background, this is the 10th year that Precision Farming Dealer has been conducting this survey. So before we sent it out, I reached out to some of our industry connections for their thoughts on how we could update the survey to provide some more insightful data for all of you, since precision farming has changed so much over the last decade. So one of our unofficial advisory board members suggested asking the following two questions. The first of which was, are your precision customers more likely to use texting and digital communications than non-precision customers? And 74% of our responding dealers said yes. And our industry expert, he views this as an opportunity to bring customers into closer and more consistent digital communications with other departments at your dealership as well. And he sees that as a huge benefit, and something that the dealers he works with are really thinking about and looking at improving upon and building out and enhancing. So then the other customer behavior question we asked was, do you view selling precision technologies as a competitive advantage in attracting crossover customers? 84% of survey dealers said yes, this is. And then again, in the words of our industry advisor, digital communication with customers in your CRM is enhanced by being engaged with your customers in precision technology. Customers who are technology savvy are more likely to stay connected with the members of your dealership team by using frequent digital communications, not only for precision, but also for parts, sales, service support, and other valued services from your dealership. So Kyle, I'll toss it over to you and say, what are your thoughts about these questions, and how do you see that playing out with your customers?
So kind of trying to decide where to start at. So from a service standpoint, back to the, kind of, we talked about the hotline to call in. We can actually, our desk phones have a direct number that we can actually text from. So that helps quite a bit. If a guy has something simple, he doesn't want, it's just like, hey, what am I missing? It's, send a quick text, send a quick picture of it. That helps. As far as, then we even send out digital quotes now. We don't actually send out a PDF. We use a service called Quote Valet. If you guys aren't using something like that, I totally recommend it. It is a great tattletale on the customers because you get a notification every time they look at it, every time they change options on it. It's, it gives you a sense to follow up with that. And then even as far as invoicing, we switch to emailing that out, unless we're told by guys to do otherwise. But yeah, as of right now, we're trying to do it the quick, easy, and paperless way.
Yeah, for sure. So that was Quote Valet for the sending those invoices and contracts. And then what phone system do you use to do the?
We're using Ring Central right now. We tried to use HubSpot as our AgriSync replacement. We like I said earlier, we about had a bow on that one, but we would all have to have, we all carry Surface Pros with us to go. That way we can go out in the field and pull stuff out, but we would need desktop computers that were running all the time to make that work right. And that was a hurdle we couldn't get over. So.
Sure. All right, so we'll talk about agronomy services quickly here. We asked our dealers, to what extent is your dealership involved in selling and supporting agronomic services to farm customers? A little more than half are not involved in selling any agronomic services. And then everybody else, about the little less than a half, is offering them in some way, in different forms, whether that be limited through precision specialists, partnering with a third-party consulting or agronomy firm, partnering with an external retailer, or actively selling those services and packages with a staff agronomist. And then, to follow up on that, we said, if you're not, for those little over 50% who are not selling agronomic services, how likely are you going to start doing that in the next 24 months? I think looking at this here, we are pretty neutral between neither unlikely neither likely nor unlikely, or then unlikely or very unlikely is still a pretty high percentage here. There are about 20% that are likely to start doing so in the next 2 years. So Kyle, I'll ask you the same question. Are you guys selling agronomic services? And if not, are you going to?
So we've kind of been doing it behind closed doors for quite a while. We haven't been doing it directly. With our capabilities with SMS, your private retailers would go out, soil sample, and get that information back from the labs. We would crunch the data for them, then send it, and then they would write their own recs from there. But about a month ago, we decided that we were just going to do that ourselves. So we partnered with Brookside Labs out of Ohio there to take care of that, to take care of the soils testing. We do third party out the actual sampling as well, just because we don't have the bandwidth to do it. The window the window that job gets done, we're not going to hire somebody specifically for that. But yeah, we're kind of the approach we're taking it is a whole farm. Whole farm is kind of our Cadillac plan. So we'll actually go as far as to tell you, like, depending on what numbers you want to give us, is we'll tell you what hybrid netted you the most ROI, what fertilizer practice you put on if you wanted us to do that. Just where we don't sell any of the fertilizer or the chemicals or anything like that, we kind of decided that we were a neutral point on that, and just these monitors and everything that guys are using now are probably capable of a lot more information than what they're being used for at the time. And we're just trying to take guys to the next level on that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great segue into what we're talking about next, which is data management and how to utilize all of that information that we're getting from these precision technologies. So we asked, we expanded on this section this year because this is becoming an increasingly important part of dealers' businesses, especially in the precision area. So we asked, does your dealership offer data management services? 55% said yes, 45% said no. So with more than half saying yes, we wanted to know, what does that look like at your dealership? And again, dealers could pick any or all of these options that they wanted to. So that's why these percentages are adding up to more than 100. But most dealers, they're doing some sort of entry-level services such as map printing or field data downloads. You can see that's about 77%. Internal operations and communication, that's about 70%. And then advanced services like variable rate prescriptions and farm data analysis, that's a little over 43%. And then we had some people answer other as well. So then we asked, to what extent is your dealership involved in selling and supporting farm data management services to farm customers? We have about 53% actively selling services and packages that are supported by precision specialists. And then that was our highest category. And then the next highest was they're just not involved with selling farm data management at all. And then we had a couple partnering with a third-party consulting or agronomy firm or an external seed or chemical retailer. And then to look at what data management platforms our dealers are using in this survey, we picked out, again, comes from a long list of options, but we picked out the top 10 here. We did have some ties, but most common was Case IH AFS Connect and My John Deere. That speaks to the high percentage of dealers who are carrying those two major lines that took this survey. So following that, we have Ag Leader SMS, Trimble Connected Farm, Climate Field View and Raven Slingshot, Fent Connect, AgCo Fuse, Ag Leader, Agfinity, and Farmer's Edge, rounding out that top 10. And then we asked if the suppliers that our dealers are carrying have any requirements for data management. 69% said no, their suppliers don't require any data management things, and 31% said yes. This is an area we're excited to dive into in the print version of this article to see which dealers and which suppliers are requiring those things. So I'll ask you, Kyle, you talked a little bit about the data management and whole farm approach that you guys are thinking about. So what does that look like? Who are your suppliers, and are they requiring anything from you for data management?
No, so nothing of what we're doing is required. I would say the people that are using the data management are probably a little more fun to work with, just because they are, the reason we're selling all this stuff to growers and other people is to provide a solution. So if they don't have the data, they're not going to see the goodie of what we've been working on. So that, I guess that's kind of my standpoint on it, is no, they don't have to do anything. That's their prerogative. But the guys who are whole hog into it are the ones that are usually asking questions, what's the next step and how do we take it to the next level?
What do you think in terms of how many customers you work with are really interested in that type of data and taking it to the next level? What is that kind of percentage, or what type of customer is looking for that?
I would say probably close to 75% are interested in doing it. Once you start putting a price tag on that, you probably lose about half of them, just because the seed industry is really good about just taking care of that for them. And that, that's what they've been using, and it's quote free, but the price of that is tied into something. But it's just, I don't know, in my opinion, is just, how do you differentiate yourself in getting guys to pay for your service rather than, maybe their seed dealer just taking care of it for them.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we'll talk a little bit more about the customers who are using precision technology. New this year, this was also recommended to us by one of our unofficial advisory board dealers. We asked about connected customers. So to define that, this is how we defined it for the survey. The OEMs define connected machines as machines that can be remotely monitored and managed. So for this survey, we said connected customers refers to customers who are using connected machines. So right now, 82% of our survey dealers do not have any requirements for connected customers. And then looking at if they do have connected customers, we asked, do you have a dedicated employee who monitors those connected machines? 53% said no, 47% said yes. Most dealers who told us they have connected customer accounts said the precision specialist would set up the account. Some also have a precision manager or precision salesperson set up the connected customer account. We asked, how do you manage connected vehicle ownership migration? Some dealers, there was a mix of answers. Some say they go through their OEM. Others are doing it through management at the dealership. And then some are even working with the customer directly to manage that vehicle migration. And then in terms of billing for connected support, some dealers said they're billing on an as-needed basis. Others bill it through the service department when the call is generated. Some dealers are attaching fees or yearly rates, and others just said, this is new, we're trying to figure this out. So Kyle, I'll toss it over to you here. What does it look like for you? Who's monitoring the connected customer machines? And then how are you billing when those machines need servicing?
So our connected, we call them the connected cabs. We don't really monitor them per se. We sell a lot of yearly service plans, is what we call them. So we'll go out twice a year and inspect the machines, whether it's an anhydrous bar or planter. We try to do those in February and March, and then we'll go, then there'll be some sprayers that straggle in there. We'll get to them in April while the planters are going. And then the next big one is combines. What we have done is we've incentivized guys to utilize our connected cab. So within Agfinity and the Ag Leader in Command 1200, we can remote in. We can't hit any buttons for you, but we have discounted our service plans to push guys into using a hotspot to get internet in the cab, which makes our job tremendously easier diagnosing problems. In that, and the guys in Iowa, Missouri, and Minnesota, we're pretty spoiled. We can use that same modem to get RTK into the cab as well. So it's a segue into some more sales as well. But Yeah, like I said, we don't really monitor it. It's a great, it's a great tool. It sends their data to the cloud and then ties right back into our whole farm data management package too. Um, so I
Okay.
guess I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yeah, I think it's good to see a perspective of how maybe it's not actively monitoring, but you have
Mm-hmm.
data available, and then you can go back and do whatever you need to do for that customer when that time comes.
Mm-hmm.
So talking a little bit more about billing, which I know everyone here is, most people here are real interested in. So we asked, what precision services are you currently billing to farm customers? And here is where you can see those numbers. Again, this is one of those questions where you can pick multiple options, so the responses are more than 100%. As you can see, most of our dealers, they're billing for hardware installation, billing for correction signal subscriptions, software updates and upgrades, preseason setup, in-season technology support, firmware updates and upgrades, and yield monitor calibration, as well as field data management, transfer, and upload. Those are all 50% or more of our respondents. They are billing for those things. And then you can see here some of the services that become less and less common as we go down the list. So these are the services that are being charged for. So how are dealers charging for these things? Most dealers are using an hourly rate. Again, and here we asked, what is your primary method of charging for precision service? So dealers could be doing multiple options on here, but we wanted to know, what are you doing most often? And that answer is hourly rate with this group. Package pricing and an annual contract both came in at 14%, and then 4% were charging a per acre fee primarily for their precision service. So Kyle, what does your primary billing method look like, and why did you guys decide to go that route?
So our primary base, I'm going to go the hourly just because that's the easiest. But when we're like, if we sell a planter system or a grain bin system, within the quote, we will do install. We'll either bid install just because we've done enough of them. We know how long it should take. Or we'll do it by the hour if somebody wants to do part of it themselves and then have us come clean it up. Like our data management fee, we do that on a per acre basis just because that's the easiest way to do it. But yeah, it all comes back to right to that hourly rate, just making sure we're getting paid for our time.
Mm-hmm. And when you guys are doing like the customer maybe starts the project and you clean it up, how does that typically, I guess, with the customer, do customers find themselves being like, oh, I should have just had you do it to begin with? Or is this stuff that they feel like the hourly rate pays off then for you guys?
So I would say about 30%, probably 30% of the guys that try to tackle themselves get into it in about 2 hours and then just decide like, hey, it's way more than they thought it was going to be. And let's be honest, we all have a million and different things to be doing as well. I farm too, so I know how time crunchy gets through the off season and thinking you can do a project and then you just don't get it done. But the biggest hurdle we see with that is if they do part of it and we do part of it. If something happens, it turns into well, did we work on that part of the planter? Did they do it? And then it get, for warranty purposes, that can get a little funky there, but it happens. It doesn't happen a lot. I would say probably another 30%. We go out, we show them how to do, I keep using planters as an example. We do 2 or 3 rows with them. They do the rest of them. And then we come back and we do the key components like setting generators and bleeding hydraulic lines and doing that kind of thing.
Okay. And then for your customers that do have annual plans, what does your renewal rate look like for those plans?
I would say it's probably 75 to 80%. We get some people that decide they don't need it. We get some new people in, so it stays pretty consecutive there. But the guys who've done it the longest appreciate it because they have access to us via phone calls, text, or anything. 7 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, Monday through Saturday. And then we also answer the phone noon to 6. And very, very seldom do we have to go to the field and actually fix something. We can usually get it diagnosed over the phone and send you parts.
That's nice.
So, it's happened, as a farmer myself, it's happened, something breaks at 5:30, 6 o'clock, everybody's gone, you can't get it, and there you sit. But, at least in our case, we can try to get it figured out for you, tell you a quick fix to get it running for the night, and then, have parts ordered first thing in the morning, or even if we have them on the shelf, have them sitting outside waiting for you.
Mm-hmm. So those extended service hours are part of the annual plan. What else does the customer get with that?
We go out and we update everything in our twice a year visits, or it seems like there's always a bug in something and we have to make a third trip out in the middle of planting to update everything. I think they get a 5% off in-season parts or harnessing if, it's farming stuff happens. If you pinch a harness when you're folding up the planter and need a new one, we give them a little bit of a break on that kind of stuff.
Okay. So our last section of data that we're talking about here today is looking ahead. So we asked dealers to make some predictions about their dealerships and their revenue in the next 3 years. The first question we asked is the one you see here: how important the product categories that we have listed, I'll just scroll down here, are to increasing the dealership's precision revenue in the next 3 years. As you can see here, our respondents are putting a lot of emphasis on signal subscriptions, GPS and guidance systems, planter control systems, and application technology hardware as important categories in the next 3 years. So Kyle, as you're looking at this list, what would you say are your top very important categories?
I would say the GPS and auto steer is probably the top one that I see, just from an efficiency standpoint. Guys are looking into that, and I'm sure some guys who already have it, one, they're not going to go away from it, and two, they want to take the next step in that, whether that's a signal upgrade or implement guidance or something like that. And especially as the farm size are growing, we're doing a heck of a lot more in the dark, and just that ties right back to the efficiency, not having to drive that, and you're overlapping. As expensive as these machines are getting, not putting extra hours on them by doing more than you have to, is that, and finding the labor to do it. The easier we can make it on the labor situation is a huge one as well. And then it looks like data management and planter control systems. From what I've seen in my short 4 years in my position, is those two tie directly together. You get a guy that intensely manages his farm data, and he might not go high speed, but he's going to have hydraulic downforce and some kind of electric drives on that planter. Just because the proof is in the pudding on that one. And then I would say everything else kind of follows suit behind that.
Sure. You mentioned staffing, and I think that's a good transition here to a question more asking dealers to look internally about what areas they want to invest in. And staffing is one that is very, very important to our surveyed dealers. About 83% of dealers said this is very important to them, adding additional staff. Employee training, I'm sorry, is 83%. Adding additional staff and doing more customer training are also very highly ranked, as you can see here. So a little bit about, with those predictions on their mind, we asked dealers, what do you see as the biggest challenge ahead in the next 12 months? This was, people could just type in whatever was on their mind. Product availability was the top concern named. It came up over and over again. Providing adequate staffing and training to staff, as indicated in this chart, that's top of mind for precision dealers. Some are also concerned about the rising cost of doing business, as well as farmer expenses increasing while income decreases with falling commodity prices and rising product prices. So Kyle, for you looking ahead, what do you see as the biggest challenge for HTS Ag? And
probably the product lines we do have treated us very good. I don't know what the new stuff we would add there, so maybe that's kind of the one that pops up. Hiring additional staff, like I mentioned when we first got going, we're going through some growing pains. We try to vet out people pretty quick on whether they're going to be trainable and that. And we share an office with a company called ConnectWise, so we have some corporate tools that we can bum off of them as far as honing in on personality traits and stuff like that. A lot of the problem that what we've had is I don't feel like employee burnout is the right word that I want to use, but our grain bin management is really intensive for the tech guys, and about the only time we can work on commercial bins is when those bins are full. So and those bins are typically full when it's cold, and being 125 feet off the ground when it's 10 degrees and blowing 25 mile an hour, and all that is it'll burn a guy out real quick. So we try to rotate everybody through the crummy jobs. That way, people don't quit, so we have to get additional staff, and then we go back through training a new person once a year.
What kinds of things are you looking for when you're in that process of vetting the new candidates?
So one probably the biggest thing we're looking for is the ability to learn and be flexible. There's days we're probably done doing what we're doing at 2:00 in the afternoon, and then there's days we have to be working on something until 8:30, 9:00 at night. And just the understanding of, we plan on it being an 8 to 5, but that is not the case in busy season.
Right. And then are most of the people that you're hiring or interviewing, are they coming from a farming background, or are you
I would say if they're not coming right off the farm, most of them are only one generation off the farm. So they, it's been a family member that's kind of got them going. And then, so it's not, we have had people, just, want to try it and see how it works. And, they've done really good. But most of them are either right off the farm or just a generation removed.
Okay. Makes sense. So that concludes the end of the data that we have. I want to just remind everyone, if you have any questions, now's the time to put those in. I have a couple sort of announcements, I'll call them, to share while you're thinking about your questions. And before I get to that discount for the summit that I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, to remind you that the February issue of Farm Equipment Magazine will feature an in-depth analysis of the data we talked about here today, including data points that didn't make it into this presentation. And then, like I mentioned, those detailed comparisons of responses by business type, major line, region, revenue, to help you compare yourself to dealers who most fit your operation. You can subscribe to Farm Equipment at farm-equipment.com/subscribe. And you can also find additional results on our website, precisionfarmingdealer.com, under the special coverage tab. All of the stuff on precisionfarmingdealer.com is free, so I encourage you to check that out. It looks like we have a question here. We have, how do you find Ring Central struggling to find, he's asking, what do you think about Ring Central? He's struggling to find an AgriSync replacement in the UK as well.
I really like it. I wish there was a way they could make tickets in there. Maybe there is, and we just haven't totally dove that far into it. But just having the ability to send a quick note via text is my favorite feature of it, and not give out my personal cell phone. So guys are farmers are great, but they will call you at 2 a.m. and expect you to fix their stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what I really like about it. You can send pictures back and forth. I know some services aren't the greatest at that. If they could figure out how to make a ticketing situation, I think that'd be the best way to do it.
And those pictures that you're sending back and forth, are those housed somewhere other than on your phone, or does that all just get stored on your phone?
It all gets stored on the phone, and then like I utilize Google. I forget how many gigs you can get for free, and then once it goes, you have to maintain it, but every 3 or 4 months, go through the pictures and videos and stuff you don't need anymore.
Sure. Good solution. And good question. So if anyone else has a last minute question, now's your chance. I'll also mention that if you're interested in rewatching or sharing this presentation, everyone who registered will receive an email with a link to the recording within the next 48 hours. And that's also available on precisionfarmingdealer.com. And then for our promo for the Precision Farming Dealer Summit, final thanks to LaForge for their support and helping make today's webinar possible. And LaForge is joining us at Precision Farming Dealer as a title sponsor at the upcoming 2023 Precision Farming Dealer Summit in St. Louis, Missouri. That's January 9th through 10th. We've got a great lineup of speakers and sessions planned that are sure to send you home with proven, actionable strategies and best practice ideas to run a more profitable precision department. And as a thank you for joining us today, LaForge is extending an exclusive discount off of all registrations. You can go to precisionsummit.com and enter the promo code LaForge10 as you see it typed here to receive a 10% discount on your entire order. So we're really excited about that. I helped put together the program this year. We try to do a lot of different things, including adding new classroom sessions where we're giving you guys more opportunity to talk about the things that we addressed in this benchmark study and ask those questions of each other when you're looking for a new tool or how to figure out billing or something like that. So hope that we'll see you there. And Kyle, I want to say thank you again for joining me today and spending your time with us here and offering your insights.
That is no problem. And if anybody has any more questions or you think of one later, we are on all the social medias, or if a quick Google search will get you the office number, and we'd be happy to help you with anything. So
awesome. I appreciate that. So with that, I'll say hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving and hope we see you in St. Louis.